Today, we are diving into what I would argue is one of the most impactful and well-designed expansion packs in the Sims 2 franchise, and that is the Sims 2 Apartment Life. This expansion pack didn't just surprise the player base when it launched, it changed how we think about neighborhoods, social class, storytelling, and housing in life simulation games. Now, for those of you just discovering this space, my name is Michael, and I want to let you know that you have landed in Sovereign Sandboxing, the YouTube channel where we build, play, and reflect on games that let us shape our own stories. And just like my previous reviews, we are going to be breaking this expansion pack down into 5 key categories, scoring them out of 10, and those categories of course being its concept, innovation, gameplay, impact on the current franchise, and impact on future franchises. And of course, I will reflect on where this expansion pack sits in the larger, bigger picture of the Sims 2 era according to my own opinion here. So let's move in, meet the neighbors, and break down the Sims 2 Apartment Life. Apartment Life had a clear concept: bring denser residential living to The Sims. This was a much needed shift from the traditional suburban standalone household gameplay that had defined the series up until this point. It introduced the idea that your Sims didn't need a massive yard or 3 bedrooms to live out meaningful, interesting lives. And the only reason why I'm actually going to take off a point from here is because thematically, the concept could have been better housed under a broader urban or downtown expansion pack. We already had nightlife, so Apartment Life felt like a companion piece that came a bit late to the party. And in my Open for Business review, I did dock points in that video's concept as well, just because I did criticize Open for Business for having a concept that didn't holistically support the gameplay feature at every shape and turn. But in this rare case, the execution of Apartment Life was so good that the slightly mismatched concept actually still holds up. And once you dive into the features, you realize just how strong the identity of this pack is. And so that is why I'm actually going to be giving the concept a 9 out of 10, kicking things off in this review. Here's where Apartment Life really shines. You see, this expansion pack redefined how housing worked in The Sims. It introduced a completely new model of living, one that players didn't even know that they wanted until it was in their hands. And up until this point, The Sims has been about single-family homes, sprawling lots, and the very representation of suburbia. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with suburbia, but we needed some more diversity in our housing options. And on The Sims 2 Exchange at the time, there were plenty of apartment builds that were already constructed, so players really wanted it. They just didn't. I just don't think that anybody realized that this expansion pack was in the pipeline for us to actually enjoy. And so Apartment Life flipped the idea of consistent suburban living right on its head, and it lets us stack lives on top of each other, adding depth to our builds. And Apartment Life really allowed us to create complex, socially diverse neighborhoods. Suddenly, you could build a duplex, a walk-up, a condo, or even a trailer park. And let's not forget, this was the 8th expansion pack. No one was really expecting it, and we got hints of The Sims 3 back when The Sims 2 Free Time was released. So I honestly don't think that people were really expecting this expansion pack to release. And many had assumed that Free Time was really their final send-off before The Sims 3. So for EA to drop something that fundamentally changed the game this late in the cycle, it was really bold, and it was impactful. And for that, it was 100% innovating, deserving a 10 out of 10 from me in this category. Apartment Life's gameplay is easily some of the most seamless and natural feeling in the entire Sims 2 catalog. For starters, you can have multiple playable households on the same lot, mind you, and it actually works. And the system really allows for neighbors to come and go, to engage with your Sims and maintain their own routines. It adds a social layer that has been missing in the franchise and a layer of gameplay that is very challenging for future franchises to duplicate, but that's a whole other video. And the roommate system, well, it is absolutely the best execution of the roommate system across all Sims titles. Roommates in Apartment Life have just the right level of autonomy to feel independent, but they still engage with your Sims in meaningful and sometimes hilarious ways. It's a storytelling goldmine, to say the very least. And you also get new social classes of Sims. Like your neighbors have quirks, routines, and even reputations, and so this means that your buildings and neighborhoods gain personality and structure. Suddenly you can tell richer stories about class, ambition, and relationships. But let's talk quickly about the new neighborhood, Belladonna Cove. I really appreciated this one. It brought a slightly older, slightly more grounded city energy to the game, and with its winding streets, community lots, and apartment-heavy layout, it provided an excellent sandbox for players who wanted that denser, lived-in feel. And there's even a pre-built trailer park lot, and let me tell you, like, it's perfect for starter homes or for storytelling with lower income Sims. Again, the game is giving us not just buildings but cultural context, and it opens the door for nuanced storytelling. Now, unfortunately, I do have to dock one point, and I really didn't want to, you guys, but we really need to talk about the witchcraft system. The inclusion of witches, felt completely out of place. And while magic gameplay can be fun, it didn't feel like it belonged in this expansion pack. The good, neutral, and evil witch system was a decent start, but the spells were frustrating to gather ingredients for, and the visual change in the Sims' skin tones felt odd and inconsistent. Magic, witches, and alchemy, in my opinion, those deserve their own expansion pack, and in Apartment Life, they just felt like an afterthought. Still, overall, like, this expansion pack with its game-changing features that all work together really do deserve a strong 9 out of 10 for its gameplay, which I feel is fair taking into account the witches. Very few expansion packs land this hard this late in a franchise, and The Sims 2 Apartment Life impacted how players build, how they storytell, and how they structure neighborhoods. It introduced us to the idea that you could have multiple households on one lot without chaos, and that concept immediately found a home with builders and storytellers. People started uploading even more and sharing their apartment builds, tenements, studios, and converted townhomes. It made the community more creative. So its impact on its current franchise really deepened the social fabric of gameplay. Like, you could depict wealthy penthouses, middle-class flats, and low-income apartments all within the same neighborhood. And the expansion pack gave Simmers the tools to depict class, diversity, and shared living spaces in a way that felt real and grounded. And once again, let's talk about that trailer park lot. That was a brilliant inclusion. It gave players a new entry point into storytelling about possible financial struggle, upward mobility, or generational change, and more importantly, it pushed the envelope and encouraged players to use the apartment building mechanics to think outside of the box, or outside of the apartment, I suppose. The Sims 2 Apartment Life really elevated the entire game, and therefore it does earn a 10 out of 10 on its impact on the current franchise, a score that it definitely well deserved. Let's be honest here. The Sims 2 Apartment Life set a standard that has never been matched one for one. It showed future Sims games what apartment-style living should look like. The autonomy, the social interactions, the roommate system, the flexibility, all of it was top tier. Unfortunately, most future titles didn't live up to that standard. The Sims 3 attempted apartment living and roommate systems and I guess apartment lots themselves, but ultimately fell short. The Sims 4's City Living expansion pack was a decent try, but even it didn't give us the freedom or complexity that the Sims 2 Apartment Life had, and you couldn't build apartments from scratch with that Sims 4 expansion pack, and the roommate system was watered down, and the sense of vertical social life was also missing as well. And I've heard that the Sims 4 for Rent expansion pack has had a lot of gameplay issues for its features to run smoothly, and that's really where the Sims 2 Apartment Life really shines. Not only does it bring us a whole collection of new gameplay features and ideas, but it does it seamlessly, and that has always been a real strength that works in the Sims 2 Apartment Life's favors. With that said, like, all flops from future franchises really all point to the Sims 2 Apartment Life having the cleanest execution of apartment style living. So the fact that this expansion pack remains the gold standard even nearly 2 decades later really does speak volumes. And if you're designing a life simulation game today and thinking about adding apartment systems, Apartment Life is still the blueprint. And obviously for that reason, it is getting a 10 out of 10 in this category for this review. With the final score being a 48 out of 50, that makes The Sims 2 Apartment Life an expansion pack that's nearly perfect, which I feel is fair. I really wanted it to be perfect, but I had to dock a couple of points, unfortunately. I also want to take a moment here to reflect on the entirety of the Sims 2 franchise lineup. We got a little bit of magic, we got business ownership, weather, education, pets, vacations, nightlife, and now apartment living. And there are really only two major concepts that The Sims 2 never fully tackled, and that was fame and celebrity gameplay, and of course, farm or rural life gameplay. If those had been added as separate expansion packs or as add-ons to other expansion packs, I feel like the Sims 2 franchise would have covered almost every major life simulation pillar imaginable. But even without them, The Sims 2 remains one of the most complete and well-rounded eras in Sims history, and most importantly, a very stable franchise as well that really empowers players to replay it, and it is still loved and played by players to this very day. And The Sims 2 Apartment Life was really the perfect note to end on with it. The Sims 2 Apartment Life was just not a great expansion pack, it is an essential one in my opinion. It redefined how we build, it deepened how we played, and The Sims 2 Apartment Life really gave us the tools to tell richer, more complex story, and it did all this in a way that felt natural, seamless, and impactful. If you're a Sims 2 player, this is one of the expansion packs that you absolutely cannot skip. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity, and for me, it sits near at the very top of the tier list. Looking back on the entire franchise, like in isolation, some of these expansion packs were duds or just kind of okay, but when the entire franchise comes together, it helps to enhance the experience of every other expansion pack. For example, your Sim could be living in an apartment, but they own a dog, or they're, I guess, forced to sew in their spare time to keep up their enthusiasm, and they're, perhaps that Sim is saving up to a trip to the Far East. And it's that kind of storytelling that keeps players coming back to The Sims 2. I just want to also take another moment here just to say thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below with your own reflections of The Sims 2 franchise. It is an incredible franchise, I would say, and as I've got my tier list listed up there, if you agree or disagree with anything that I have scored, feel free to sound off in the comment section. And until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and I'll see you guys in the next sandbox.